No remarks for you guys right now, as I've said earlier, but when there are remarks to be made regarding anything you guys want, we will make those remarks. I just hope you guys patiently wait, and in the interim, we will be in touch.
Regarding the assassination remarks, did you file any police report? Any details?
That's up to you guys to investigate. You guys do such a good job at investigating everything.
I feel like it's only a matter of days before he has on a jetpack so that he can just fly away. That was jetpack-less George Santos being asked about that video unearthed by our great smart colleagues at the Rachel Maddow Show on Monday. In that video, Santos claimed, among many other things, that he was the target of an assassination attempt. Really serious stuff. Santos offered no new details and told reporters to go find it themselves. MSNBC has reached out to his office to get more information about the assassination attempt, along with other claims he made on a Brazilian podcast about being robbed, shoes taken away from him, and left on Fifth Avenue. So far, and we'll let you know if this changes in the next hour and 34 minutes, we haven't heard back. Joining us now to talk about all of it, our friend, now the Democratic Congressman, Dan Goldman of New York. Congressman, what's the latest on George Santos?
I don't know. You tell me. It changes every minute, it almost seems like. More and more fanciful lies that continue to come out from George Santos or George DeVolder or whatever his name is. The latest, though, I think is more relevant to what Republican leadership is doing or going to do. And we know George Santos is a serial liar. We know that he deceived and defrauded his voters to induce them to vote for him. I think the real question is how long is Republican leadership going to stand by him, stand by this fraudster? And especially because Speaker Kevin McCarthy and Republican Conference Chair Elise Stefanik both knew about at least some of George Santos's lies prior to the election. And were they involved in covering it up? Were they complicit in the effort to conceal his lies so that voters would not know about them?
So, Congressman, I'm going to ask you to put your prosecutor hat on and give us a little bit of a prosecutor's profile of him. And if you could answer this question, I mean, he's already changing answers on a form. That in and of itself involves the law, right? Because those forms you fill out and you attest, there's an attestation that you're filling them out truthfully. It is like testimony to the agencies that investigate you. He's changed his answers on pretty central things, like where $500,000 came from. What, if any, are your concerns about ongoing criminality?
Well, I think there's a lot there, and I am sure that the prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York are looking at them. This was the subject of the ethics complaint that Congressman Torres and I filed with the House Ethics Committee, because it appears, even on its face and even from his own statements, as if George Santos violated campaign finance laws. First of all, he filed his initial financial disclosure 19 months after he was supposed to. He said he had an apartment in Rio de Janeiro, but then went on television and said he doesn't own any property. He doesn't include any clients of his entity, his company, that found him making $750,000 a year. And now he has gone and amended his financial disclosures to say that the $700,000 that he personally loaned his campaign was not actually his personal funds. But the only other money that could be from is a bank loan. And I don't know any bank that would lend him $700,000 based on what is undoubtedly a horrific credit score. But we need to learn about exactly what happened related to his finances. And what he's done is made his situation much worse, because, as you point out, he's now admitted that he lied on the initial financial disclosure. But his change doesn't explain anything, and it actually puts him into a box that seems much more difficult to get out of.
So you're right. There are federal investigations. There's an FEC investigation. There's an ethics investigation. If you just peel off the layer of following the money, you have any theories of the case? I mean, anything you've read in the public reporting or heard from all these Republicans who knew about this for months and months and months, what the worst case scenario is for the Republicans?
Look, I think at the end of the day, George Santos, may ultimately care very little about whether he's in Congress or not if there is an indictment brought against him. And based on the recent reporting from the Washington Post, there very well may be an indictment brought against him for his role in the Harbor City Ponzi scheme. But certainly, if you look at his financial disclosures from 2020, and compare them to the ones in 2022, there are glaring red lights all around George Santos's disclosures. And it appears as if there's significant grounds for an investigation and potential prosecution for campaign finance fraud.
Congressman, let's talk about you. The latest reporting we have, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have not received any committee assignments yet. Is that right?
Correct.
Are you worried that you, because of your prominent role in the first impeachment of Donald Trump, are being held out and potentially punished? Or is there something else afoot here that we should understand?
No, it's just the normal process is that I think the Steering and Policy Committee for the Democratic Caucus is meeting today and tomorrow to finalize committee assignments. Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker, has said that even though he has final say over who may be on these select committees, that he is not going to block anyone who's been named by Leader Jeffries. So there's nothing to read into this. It's just the normal process. And I'm excited for all of us to get our committee assignments so that we can really begin the work that we all came here to do. Obviously, I am eager to lean into my investigative background to poke holes in what will certainly be overreaching and partisan propaganda dressed up as investigations by the House Republicans. And I look forward to showing the American people that it's all a house of cards, what they say.
Have you asked Leader Jeffries to put you on Jim Jordan's subcommittee looking at politicization of DOJ and the FBI?
Yeah, we've had some conversations with leadership, and it appears, there's a tremendous amount of talent in both the new members here in the Democratic caucus as well as the broader caucus. And I think that Leader Jeffries has a very difficult job to narrow down who is going to be on both the Select Committee on China as well as what I call the Subcommittee to Obstruct Justice, which is the so-called weaponization subcommittee that Jim Jordan is going to head up.